Hi and welcome to Kate's Kitchen. We're going to do a quick vlog today about how to make, I'm going to call it Karen's kitchen sink bread. So this is my mom's recipe, which can vary depending on what you have in your kitchen. And her little saying is that you can throw in almost anything except for the kitchen sink. So this kind of plays on our breakfast cookie recipe, and we're showing you how to use some of those ingredients into a bread format. So she just made a batch, so I'm kind of using some of her leftover ingredients and going to make a nice bread. I think a lot of people are intimidated to make bread. It is actually really easy, and you can substitute out a lot of the ingredients. So I'll kind of let you know what those are as I go. So we're starting in our big mixing bowl here with a cup of whole wheat flour. So you do use a mixture of whole wheat and all-purpose, because if you use all whole wheat, it does get a little too dense. Excuse me. So the first thing you have to do when cooking bread is make sure you have yeast, instant yeast, and salt. Here we have 3 teaspoons of instant yeast. I'm adding it to my whole wheat flour. And I have a teaspoon of salt. So you want to make sure those are both thoroughly mixed into the flour. And one of the biggest things about cooking bread is you typically need a sugar to activate the yeast and make sure it rises. So you can use a cup of pretty much any liquid that's a little bit warmer than room temperature. You don't want it super hot, otherwise that will kill the yeast. So my mom had orange juice on hand, so we have half a cup of warm orange juice mixed with half a cup of water. And the orange juice, because it's both acidic and sugary, really makes a nice bread. So again, if you have something you need to use up, throw it into the bread. So now I'm adding my liquids to the start of the base bread dough. So I have my sugar orange juice mixture. I have half a cup of honey, or a quarter cup of honey. Yeah, quarter cup. And if you are putting it into a measuring cup, you can just spray it with Pam, and that'll avoid it sticking it into your measuring cup. So I'm gonna pull that out. That's the sugar portion that's gonna really help activate the yeast. And then I'm gonna add a quarter cup of oil. Again, you can switch that out for any kind of oil. This, I think we're just using canola oil. And then we have 1 egg. So now you're gonna really mix in all of those liquids. Make sure you get them nice. You should have a nice kind of liquid base now, and we're gonna start to add some of the seeds. So now that we have our nice liquid mixture, we're going to add some of the different seeds and flakes that we use in breakfast cookies. The first is about a half a cup of large flake oats, about a quarter of a cup of ground flaxseed, and about a quarter cup of chia seeds. So again, those are all ingredients you can use in another recipe. So in our nice liquid base here, we're gonna add in our oat flakes, flaxseed, chia seed. And again, all of these can be substituted out for other ingredients that you might have in your pantry. In our cookies, we also use pumpkin seeds, so you can mix in that. You could mix in nuts if you wanted nuts in your loaf. So again, just kind of using what you have on hand. So now that you've mixed all of your seeds and oatmeal flakes to your kind of liquid bread base, you should have about 2 cups of all-purpose flour ready to kind of add in half-cup increments to slowly form it into a dough format. So we're going to do that. You might not need 2 full cups, just because we did add those other fillers, the chia seeds and flaxseed, which does tend to make the bread already a little bit thicker. So we're just going to kind of use it and kind of gauge it as we go, and kind of stop once it's formed one solid dough ball. So we're going to start just adding a little bit of half a cup at a time here. This is where the muscles come in, as it gets thicker and thicker.
You're using the Tupperware bowl, which is wonderful because the dough doesn't stick as badly as it does in other kinds of.
So our dough is ready to be kneaded now. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of our flour so it doesn't stick to the counter. And so now we're gonna knead it into a pliable kind of dough. So to knead, you use the heel of your hand, push in, tuck back. So now I've placed the little dough ball in a greased bowl. I'm securing a lid on it, and we're gonna put it somewhere warm to rise for 30 minutes. All right, so now that your bread has risen, it should have about doubled in bulk. So my mom has a proofing oven, which allows it to be like a low temperature so it rises a little bit quicker. If you have a bit of a cooler house, it might take up to an hour. Just make sure that the dough does double in size. So we're gonna lay it out on a lightly floured counter. Grab a rolling pin. Okay, so now that I have it about the right size, I'm gonna roll it, almost like a cinnamon bun, from the length side of the edge. So pick up the edges, kind of tuck it as you roll. All right, so we've pulled our bread out of the oven. It has been out. It was in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until it had a nice brown top. So after the second rising, it doesn't take a huge amount of time to cook. They are a little bit denser just because of all the seeds and oatmeal in there. If you do a purely white all-purpose flour loaf, it's gonna be a little fluffier without any whole wheat flour, but it turned out really nicely. Let's see, we got a nice crusty end here. Bread, 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 bread. So good.